it's Sean and welcome back to my channel. This is the Sony Cyber-shot or Super Steady Shot, model number DSC T70 or 70 T70. Fairly popular Sony handheld camera back in the day in the Cyber-shot family, with a retractable cover over your lens to help keep it clean, albeit if memory serves me correctly, quite a few of my friends had this. And when they would take it out places, say like the beach or something, this protective cover ended up being more or less a sand trap or debris trap for lint and etc. So it served its purpose, I guess. But like I said, pretty popular camera of the day. This one comes to me by family members asking for a bit of service on it. Now, what he mentioned is that it has some difficulty focusing when taking pictures, and it'd be hard for me to demonstrate anything of that magnitude here on camera because I couldn't really find a focus issue. I took a couple photos around the office and zoomed in and then touched the screen to see if it would focus in effectively, and it did, although there were times when it seemed like it would stutter and you could hear the motor in there whining to catch up. Had to tap it twice a few times to get it to zoom correctly. So potential, maybe there's just some debris or something that's maybe towards the optical portion of this camera that could get addressed. The speaker as well sometimes will play audio, sometimes it skips it, but you know, again, just something we can once we get this apart, I give it a bit of service and see what's going on. Most likely just need some cleaning. Now, the camera itself, this one, let's see, took, as I mentioned, 8.1 megapixel photos and recorded video and could output it over a monitor or TV at 1080i using Sony's proprietary cable that would attach down here. Sony also, in this model, made use, and this isn't the original battery that came with it, but a rather uncommon battery versus what you could traditionally find, you know, AA's, AAA's, etc. But and also made use of their proprietary memory stick, the Pro Duo memory stick, that is, with this camera, which is one of the reasons why I stayed away from this specific model, although it was super compact. And in my travels and stuff, what I carried around with me was this Sony Cyber-shot. What model is this? MPEG Movie VX, model number DSC-W7. This is a 7.2 megapixel camera, so 0.9 megapixels less than that, which was primarily the argument. Oh, how many megapixels does your camera have? You know, because that represented, you know, a better image during that at that time. It still does for the most part, but that's what drove consumerism concerning these products, is how compact you can get them and how good of a picture and video quality you can take with them. Albeit with my model, instead of using a proprietary cable, you had an AV, typical AV connector at the time for hooking to a monitor or television, and a standard USB for connecting it and transferring files in and out of the memory stick. And this one just used the Sony Pro memory stick and not the Pro Duo, which I don't have anymore, and didn't use an uncommon battery. It just used two AA's, which are currently dead. But yeah, that's why I chose this one over a model like this. I also like the fact that I could hook my finger in here. I like the rotary control on this, and made me feel like I was more in control of the camera itself. I also had a peeking glass here for taking photos versus just staring at the screen, because if you were outside, oftentimes the screen was rather washed out, so it was kind of, if there was super bright sunlight, so it's kind of hard to use it on occasions. You know, that's kind of what made it interesting. If you had at the time were burning DVDs or movies, etc., depending on the storage size of your memory card, and if you had the ability adapter or computer or laptop that you could plug that memory card into, you could actually convert your burned movies to the MPEG format, MPEG, and put them in the root folder and actually use this as a somewhat of a portable, device for watching content. Although poor picture quality on the display, very low audio, and again, if you were outside, it was pretty washed out. But that all being said, it appears we've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws here on the side to get the back side of the case off, and plus one more here. Hopefully there's no screws hidden underneath this. But we'll take it apart and we'll give it a bit of a service, and we'll poke around to see if there's anything that is too far out of whack to, for what was mentioned as far as difficulty with zooming and what I observed as well. So that being said, let's get it apart. And just what I was thinking, compact cameras and all the lovely little ribbon cables of small screws makes it almost like you kind of don't want to take them apart ish. But anyways, I think our issue with that stutter is going to be in here. This is the CCD stabilizing assemblies. So there should be a motor in here somewhere. We're going to have to take this further apart, see what we find, and hopefully I don't damage any of these fine ribbon cables on here while doing so. Looks like we have looks like it's fairly loose already. I have some ribbon cables that run up underneath here, eventually going to this display. Pop out the display real quick. It's all compressed in. Well, maybe I didn't have to. Hey, there we go. All right. So I am going to carefully disconnect these two cables right here. See if I can pry them upwards. Suppose now is as good a time as any to say, if you're new to my channel and you're enjoying this content, please consider subscribing and give this video a thumbs up. I do quite a bit of different types of repairs and operate having fun repairs as a business here in Oklahoma, but you don't have to be in Oklahoma if you're looking for something to be repaired or restored. My Google site that has my P.O. box, an email for seeking out repair is linked in the description. You can read about the business side of things there. But trying to do my part to keep e-waste out of the ground and give old technology some new life, as well as restorations. I started doing, I've got a couple videos up here restoring guitar amps, 1940s radios. Got more of those on the way and several other things. I don't feel like messing with this while recording, so I'm going to play with this off camera and then come back once I have this out. Well, that was a tad bit of a bother. We got the lens assembly unit out. I wish I had some rubber gloves to wear so I wasn't putting so many fingerprints on different components. But I assume these K77T got 2 coils. These are speaker and microphone, maybe something along those lines. Oddly enough, there's a screw missing out of this one. Wonder why that is. Has somebody had this apart before? I believe this bottom part right here is our CCD. Let's go ahead and remove that. Looks like there's just one screw here on the bottom. Take that out. Let's take it over here. And will this come out? Almost. There are 2 screws. We got one more over on this side. Those y'all having difficulty seeing on this screw right here and the one I removed over on this side right here. But we're going to go ahead and remove this one as well. Get off of there. All right. Yep. That's the CCD. And how is our orientation again? Should be up this way. Okay, so long as my cable wraps around there, we're good. That's fairly easy to remember. I'll set it face down. And then if there are stuttering issues, I think it's going to be with this right here. If these lenses have these optical lenses down in here have gotten loose over time. That's going to be the next part I take out. We've got 2 screws for it, blue. One right here and one right here. Take this apart. It was the Sony Cyber-shot. Oh yeah, there's a lovely magnet in there that tells me that there's also a motor or something. The Sony Cyber-shot is what I used to first record videos on and obviously take pictures, but back in the day when I first started learning about video editing and stuff and using CyberLink for video editing, during my travels while deployed or TDY in the military, that was my go-to device to bring with me. And I would traditionally try to take photos and record. This needs to come up, this cable right here. My travels and things, and you know, preserve some memories. Lost quite a bit of that over the duration of years, and it's kind of, it is what it is kind of thing. But that's what got me started on that. Roughly 20 years ago. Now I am going to have to spend a minute to figure out how to separate this part, this right here. Will it just slide down, or how's this come off? I don't want to do a whole lot of tugging and stuff while on camera. So I'm going to play with this for a bit until I figure out how it comes apart, because I really don't want to rush and break it. Okay, before I break this even further down, I took out the 2 screws, and this right here was still relatively tight in there. So I figured out that you have, let's see, can I get this on camera correctly? You got basically 2 retaining tabs here, one there and one there. That you've got to get move out of the way for this top piece here. You also have a little retain. This right here retains kind of clipped over the plastic on this side, and then as well right here kind of clips together, and there's a small tab of glue to hold it in place. That glue wasn't really on there very well, but once those were undone, this started moving pretty good. Still haven't gotten it all the way out yet. Additionally, underneath, I went ahead and took this cable, and we can hold it like this for a second. That cable set, ribbon cable set underneath here, and then a portion of it was underneath this tab here. So I very carefully lifted it up. But everything is loose now, so it's just figuring out how specifically to get it apart. And I think might have something to do with this needing to come down and over this way, but I'm not too sure yet. I'll keep, and then the same thing over here. You can see how the plastic case kind of just, this portion right here, it's molded over the top of this. But you know, just some things I can play with so I can get it apart. Awfully fiddly, not something I would do on a regular basis, but you know, I'd probably just replace this whole module. But if you can't get a hold of them, you have to investigate. And if you're still using a camera like this and like using it, well, you have to investigate, I guess. So let me get this back down on my bench, and I'll keep playing with it and come back. Yeah, so it was kind of that simple. It was essentially the feet, as you see. Am I on that side camera there? Oh. These plastic tabs, as you see here, one there, another one here, did have to get pulled up a bit, and then it popped right on out and everything came on out, and I was able to feed this plastic piece, retaining piece, up and around this cable and take it off. And I think I have essentially figured out the issue here. Let me see if I can hold this and show you. So this part right here was loose regardless. You can actually, let's get it up onto the camera here. You can actually see, it will focus, bit of glue right there. That is to hold this magnet in place, okay? There was glue over here that just kind of popped off. Where is it now? Yeah. Easily popped off. It's very dried up. Got it on those right in the middle of here right now. But this, you have essentially your stabilizing lens right here, right? And it's designed to move, okay? But it moves as current is applied through this magnet to make it move in whatever direction. The magnet itself should remain stationary and should not be moving. However, with that dried up glue here at the bottom, and like I said, even before I took it out, this was moving left and right on me. The magnet was. I probably should have mentioned that earlier, but I didn't know what I was looking at till I got it apart. But this needs to remain stationary. That way, as currents applied through it to, you know, to change the polarity of the magnet, I guess is the best way to put it, that this lens right here is adjusted. So the issue is predominantly with stabilization, and that's the reason why the camera sometimes acts funny. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this old glue right there for right now until I get this into the right position, and then I'm going to tack in some glue there and on the other side, and then once it's somewhat cured, then I'll pop out this old glue right here and put a dab of glue where it used to be as well to get some new glue down to hold that magnet in place. The glue I'm going to use for this is B7000. That's what I intend to use. So fairly easy moving forward, and from there just getting it all back together. Okay, minor repair is for the most part done. The surface hardening time for that glue is 3 to 6 minutes. Full cure time in 24 hours. So I'll be leaving this to sit overnight, but I need to correct a few things that I mentioned earlier. And I'm going to show you this device, our little stabilization module underneath the microscope here. Okay, let's see if I can get it to focus. Now you can see that, grab tweezers. I've got a pointer. Okay, you can see that bit of glue that little bead of glue that I put there. If I put another bead of glue between this part and that right there. Now, I mistakenly called this the magnet. It is not. These are coils, okay? That is the magnet. So as an electrical current goes through these coils, it will either attract or repel this magnet. Here goes the other side. A little bead of glue down in there, and then glue down here. The issue wasn't that the magnet itself was loose, but that this coil was loose. And so it was having a hard time stabilizing our lens here due to vibrations. So there goes the lens. Now the lens, I'm not going to touch it with my bare hands. Looks like I might have already got a speck of dirt on it. I have to make sure that this is thoroughly cleaned. But the lens should move freely. Up, down, left, and right, as you see here. Can I back out some and get more into the frame? Let's try that. There we go. Yeah, this lens should move freely, up and down and back and right, in which it would do, depending on the polarity of our current coming through these coils down in this section down here. So hopefully that makes sense to you all. But therein lied the issue. Magnet was physically good. It's still attached to this retainer plate here. It was the coil itself that was loose. And so as it was jostling around, it was causing the image to constantly refocus. But we should be good now. And the only thing that should be moving is the lens as the camera moves, and the coil itself should keep this lens where it needs to be. We'll let this dry overnight and put it back together. Well, sufficiently enough time has passed that should be able to get this back together. I did a little bit of online looking, and you can find the entire assembly on eBay for $16.14. I think that was about the cheapest I found. But the actual stability unit assembly, the cheapest one I could find for sale was over $51. But it's kind of weird. I think that's a rather interesting perspective, but either way, well, I'm out of compressed air, and I don't want to take and use alcohol or QD cleaner on these lenses in here. I think that might have just been the light reflecting off of this lens. It looks fairly clean to me, but what I do have, get it out, instead of using cotton buds, I have these specialized swabs right here that are anti-lint foam cleaning tips, so they won't leave any lint. I need to clean up things. I suppose I can use one of those instead of a cotton bud that's going to potentially leave behind some strands of well, fibers. But anyways, yeah, let's get this device together, and we'll close out this. We'll test it out and close out the video. Well, it went together pretty easily, relatively-ish. Cleaned up pretty nicely too. See if the slide still works. Yeah, you can hear that speaker just popped up immediately. So I measured with the multimeter. You saw it probably during the fast forward. I was getting about 50 ohms on one of the speakers, but the other one was around 30. So I just kind of resoldered them, and it sounds like a little bit better now. I'll do that one more time. Maybe you can hear it too. And there we go. Year, month, day, whatever. They can set that up. And we actually got a sound coming through all of our presses now. So that definitely helped that out. Touch seems to be working. Slide seems to be working perfectly fine. Let's take a photo. That photo came out pretty nice in my opinion. We'll look at it here in a second. So from 8 millimeter to 16 by 9. I got my finger in that photo, but still seems to be coming out pretty good. Also, with it in auto mode, I've got two things over here. You can see that it auto focuses in, but when I touch, you can see it goes out of focus and then focuses in on whatever I've selected. Hopefully you can see that. If not, I'll try to demonstrate for you over here on this camera, upper right hand corner, and maybe I'll turn this that way. That might be more appropriate. But you can see it kind of goes blurry and then comes back in. Hopefully. Same thing when I touched over there. So stabilization and focusing seem to be working pretty good now. And let's record. Make sure that the mic is still working. Test 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. All right, I'll play these back. Let's play this back. Turn up the volume a bit here. Okay. Yep, so playback and volumes there. And all the photos are there. And they're looking pretty good, so I'm not too concerned. All right, cool. Well, if you find yourselves in a similar issue with the stabilization on your Sony Cyber-shot, you now know what components you need to look at and some things that you can address in order to rectify that situation. But for this video, we're going to call it quits. I appreciate that you've watched. Please consider subscribing if you're new to this channel. Like this video if you enjoyed the content. Oh, and by the way, before I forget, I do have a Patreon. A little banner goes up in the doobly-doo up top, but the link is in the description, where I teach test equipment and electronics principles and electrical engineering concepts in a very layman's term and hopefully fun way. That, of course, is over on the Patreon, and that content is exclusive. Even my YouTube videos here, I pre-release them on Patreon to all Patreon members. Prior to them releasing here on YouTube. But that being said, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching. Take care and goodbye.
Mark?